Picture this. You finally decide you've had enough. You spend an entire weekend going through those do not sell my data links. You download the removal app, you send out the emails, and you diligently unsubscribe from every marketing list you can find. For a few days, maybe even a week, the digital noise quiets down. You feel a sense of relief, maybe even a little victorious, thinking you've finally taken yourself off the grid. You think you're invisible. But then, 2 weeks later, you're scrolling through your feed, and there it is. An ad for that specific brand of hiking boots you looked at once. Then an email lands in your inbox from a newsletter you never signed up for. Slowly but surely, the spam calls start trickling back in. It's a creepy feeling, isn't it? It leaves you asking the big question. If I went through all the trouble to opt out, why does it feel like advertisers still know exactly who I am, where I am, and what I want to buy? Welcome back to CyberInsider. Today, we're not just looking at how your data is collected. We're going to uncover the mechanics of why it comes back. We're investigating the resilience of the data broker ecosystem and exposing exactly how advertisers and brokers rebuild a detailed profile of you from scratch, often right after you've told them to delete it. We're going to look at the zombie profile, the digital version of you that refuses to die, and more importantly, what you can actually do about it. To understand how your profile gets rebuilt, we first have to look at the machine that built it in first place. When we talk about data brokers, it's easy to imagine a single, shadowy villain in a dark room, but in reality, it is a massive, highly automated industry involving thousands of companies that buy, repackage, and resell information. These companies exist for one reason: to turn their daily life into a product that can be sold to advertisers, insurance companies, and even financial institutions. This industry operates like a giant assembly line. At the start of the line, you have the raw materials, your data. Brokers harvest this from sources you might expect, like public government records, things like property deeds, marriage licenses, and voter registration logs. But they also pull from sources you might not realize are leaking, like loyalty programs at your grocery store, the apps on your phone that ask for unnecessary permissions, and the quiz sites you used 5 years ago. Once they have the raw data, they refine it. They take your physical address from a public record, match it with a purchase history from a retailer, and link that to a mobile advertising ID from a seemingly harmless flashlight app. Suddenly, they don't just know you're John Doe from Chicago. They know you're a middle-aged male who votes a certain way, suffers from seasonal allergies, and is currently in the market for a new car. The critical thing to remember is that you almost never interact with these data brokers directly. You're the merchandise, not the customer, and this trading happens behind closed doors, 24/7. So what actually happens when you hit that opt-out button or use a removal service? There's a common misconception that opting out is like detonating a bomb that destroys your file forever. The reality is much more bureaucratic and much less dramatic. When you send a removal request, you're essentially asking a specific company to suppress or delete the records they currently hold on you. If they are compliant, and not all of them are, they might wipe your entry from their active database. However, deletion often doesn't mean removing the snapshot they have of you right now. It is like erasing a drawing from a whiteboard. The drawing is gone and the board is white again, but the person holding the marker is still standing there, and you haven't taken away their ink. Furthermore, the legal landscape is patchy. In some regions, a do not sell request legally binds them to stop selling your data, but it doesn't necessarily force them to delete what they have already used for internal modeling. You also have to consider the sheer volume of players in this game. You might successfully scrub your details from the top 10 major brokers, the big names that everyone knows, but there are hundreds of smaller niche brokers who fly under the radar. Even if the big guys honor your request, the little guys might still have your old address, your phone number, or your shopping habits ready to be sold back up the chain the moment there is demand for it. This is where the cycle begins again. You have wiped the whiteboard clean, but life goes on. You still buy things, you still use the internet, and you still sign up for services. This is the rebuilding phase. The moment you make a new purchase online, sign up for a new warranty, or even just order a pizza for delivery, a fresh piece of data enters the ecosystem. Retailers often share transaction data with marketing partners, a polite term for data aggregators. Think of your digital identity like a jigsaw puzzle. When you opt out, you're essentially sweeping the completed puzzle off the table. The table is clear, but every day you're handing out new puzzle pieces. You swipe a loyalty card at the pharmacy, that's the corner piece. You subscribe to a magazine, that's an edge piece. You engage with a brand on social media, that's a middle piece. The brokers are constantly sweeping up these new pieces. Because their algorithms are incredibly sophisticated, they don't need a full history to recognize the puzzle. They just need a few connecting pieces to realize, this new dataset coming from the credit card company matches the pattern of the person who asked to be deleted last month. They take these fresh fragments, your new address, your new email, your recent spending, and they start linking them together. Before long, the picture of you is visible again, updated with even more recent information than before. While purchases provide hard facts, your online behavior provides the color and detail. This is where the shadow you is constructed. Even if you're careful with your credit card, your smartphone and social media usage acts as a content beacon. Every time you like a post, check in at a location, or even linger on a video for more than a few seconds, you're signaling your interests, your political leanings, your health concerns, and your relationships. Mobile apps are particularly aggressive here. Many free apps monetize by embedding code from tracking companies. You might download a free weather app, and while it tells you the temperature, it's also broadcasting your precise GPS coordinates and your unique device identifier to third parties. These identifiers are crucial. They act like a digital fingerprint that doesn't change, even if you change your name or email address in a form. This behavioral data allows advertisers to build a profile based on inference. They might not know your name is Sarah, but they know this device belongs to a person who commutes to the financial district, visits a gym 3 times a week, and has recently started searching for baby clothes. They infer you're an expectant mother with a high disposable income. This shadow profile is often more valuable to them than your actual name, because it predicts what you're going to buy next. They don't need to know who you are to know what you are. You might be wondering, how do they know the new data belongs to the same person who opted out? The answer lies in a process called identity resolution. It is a loop that stitches the data back together. Advertisers and brokers use sophisticated matching technologies to link disparate data points. They use things called hashed emails, where your email address is turned into a scrambled code. If company A has your hashed email and company B has it too, they match their databases without ever revealing the plain text email. But it goes deeper than that. They use probabilistic matching. Let's say a laptop and a smartphone connect to the same Wi-Fi network every evening. The system infers these devices belong to the same household. If the laptop searches for minivans and the phone visits a car dealership the next day, the system links those actions. They look at browser patterns, screen resolution, battery levels, and location history to triangulate your identity. This means that even if you change one variable, like getting a new email address, the other variables remain constant. Your physical location hasn't changed, your device ID hasn't changed, your browsing habits haven't changed. The algorithm looks at the new data, compares it to the billions of profiles it has in file, including the deleted ghosts, and says, wait, this behavior is a 99% match for the profile we used to call John Smith. And just like that, the new data is merged with the old, effectively resurrecting the profile you tried to kill. Now, does all this mean that opting out is a waste of time? Absolutely not. We need to be realistic, but also shouldn't be defeatist. Opting out and using data removal services is like locking your front door. It won't stop a determined master thief with a battering ram, but it stops the casual opportunists. It significantly reduces the amount of information floating around on the easy access web. It cuts down on spam, reduces the risk of identity theft, and makes it much more expensive and difficult for companies to target you. This is where automation becomes your friend. Manually chasing down hundreds of brokers is a full-time job that you probably don't have time for. This is why we partner with services like Incogni. They automate the process of sending those removal requests, and crucially, they follow up when brokers try to ignore them, or when the data inevitably reappears. If you want to add that layer of automated defense to your toolkit, check out the 55% discount in the description below. However, we have to be honest about the limitations. A removal service cannot stop the data collection at the source. It cannot stop a store from selling your data tomorrow. It cannot retroactively erase a database that was sold to a hacker 5 years ago. Think of opting out as maintenance, not a cure. It's something you have to do continuously to keep the weeds from taking over the garden, but it won't stop the weeds from trying to grow back. If you really want to stop the profile from being rebuilt, you have to choke off the supply of new data. You need to focus on prevention. This starts with your browser. Switch to a privacy-focused browser that blocks cross-site trackers by default. Install extensions that confuse the algorithms. This stops the shadow profile from gathering those behavioral puzzle pieces as you surf the web. Next, get serious about your phone permissions. Go into your settings and brutally revoke access. Does that flashlight app really need your location? Does that game really need access to your contact list? The answer is almost always no. Turn off your mobile advertising ID in your phone's privacy settings to break that link between your different tabs. Finally, protect your identifiers. Stop giving out your real email address and phone number to every cashier or website that asks. Use email aliasing services to create a unique throwaway email for every account. If one of those accounts leaks data or sells it, it doesn't link back to your main identity, and you can just delete that specific alias. By compartmentalizing your life, you make it much harder for the algorithms to stitch the pieces back together, because the pieces no longer look like they belong to the same puzzle. The harsh reality of the modern internet is that total invisibility is a myth. As long as you participate in society, buy things, use a phone, have a bank account, data will be generated. But understanding how the system rebuilds your profile gives you the power to disrupt it. You realize now that opting out isn't a magic button, it's just one part of a broader strategy. You have to stop seeing yourself as a passive victim of surveillance and start seeing yourself as an active manager of your data footprint. It takes a little effort to change your habits, to say no to the loyalty card, to use the private browser, and to keep scrubbing your records. But that effort is the price of privacy today. Start small. Pick one change from this video to implement today, whether it's checking your app permissions or setting up an email alias. Don't let the scope of the problem paralyze you. And if you want to keep peeling back the layers of this digital onion, make sure you're subscribed to CyberInsider. We are going to keep shining a light on the things the industry wants to keep in the dark. Thanks for watching, and stay safe out there.